I want to thank all of you for being here. I'm so pleased that we have so many sharing this experience with us. This is a remarkable tool. But before we get started, I want to really give heartfelt thanks to Kasia Young, who really did a tremendous job of assembling this presentation. And I'm just along for the ride. So I am just really grateful to her for her putting this together, and I get a chance to explain to you some of the details of this amazing resource. And it's amazing for a few reasons. One of the reasons is that this is just a massive database. WorldCat.org is it's just the largest assembly of published work or representations of assembly. So what we see in WorldCat are not full text documents, but records of books and electronic resources and videos and recordings. It is really the largest database in the world, all different languages. There are more than 500 languages in WorldCat, and more than 1 billion records. It boggles the mind how much is there. And as would logically follow, it provides access to almost all of the genealogical resources you could possibly desire. Access in terms of records of them. Again, there's a little bit of full text in there. In fact, a lot of what we have digitized here at the Allen County Public Library in the Genealogy Center, a lot of that digitized material is represented by link in WorldCat. Again, a small portion of WorldCat, but if you can land one of those sources that has a full text, that link will be in there to help you find it. The WorldCat does allow you to search all across the world, not just books, not just websites, not just English language, all across the world. That's especially a treat when it comes to finding material in other languages. If you have family in other languages, what a gift. And WorldCat honors that, including Chinese, Japanese, and Cyrillic languages. So if you read those things, that's a tremendous gift. It also continues to grow. And so the work that Kasia does and the work that I do can constantly contribute to this database. So we are among many libraries that grow on a constant basis. And that's an important factor in this, because every new title that comes in makes that database bigger. So it keeps track of new titles too. And those new titles may be important to your research, as you'll see a little bit later as we go through the qualities of this database. Some of you remember card catalogs. Picture a card catalog, and when you walk up to it, all the drawers open and all the cards that are specific to you just kind of pop up so you can grab. And you have your own drawer with batches of cards that are exactly the research that you've already done. And there's another drawer for one of your family members on the other side of the world who also has all of their cards together. And you can swap those and exchange all of that information with your family. That's what this database allows you to do. And we'll show you how that can happen. As with most contemporary databases, you'll need to put in your password, a name and a password. You are probably familiar with the concept of cookies. Cookies in a database allow an identification between the remote database and your particular computer ID. That helps to reconnect you every time you come back to it. As we go through this, I think you'll find that you want to reconnect to this rather often. So accepting cookies on this OCLC website. OCLC is the proprietor of WorldCat. WorldCat is one of many products that OCLC, used to be the Online Computer Library Center, one of the many products that they handle. Your familiarity with that is really going to make a difference in your research. You can see at the bottom of this screen the WorldCat URL, so getting into that should be pretty straightforward. As with, again, as I said, you're going to need a username and a password. This should not be a mystery, but as we have marked there, just click on Create a Free Account, and you'll be just aware now of tremendous power. Here, you're probably also familiar with the CAPTCHA routine, the idea that you have to click this box so that automated robots don't get into this database. One thing that you'll find, and we'll revisit this many times in this presentation, is that WorldCat is very careful to protect you. They're going to constantly ask you if it's okay to make this public or if you want to make it private. And so you ask, what is this? Well, it's all the information that you put together. So this, once you register, is your home base, your control board, well, you can see. And I just want to take a second here to look through all of the potential that's on this page. Here, you can see that you can name your favorite libraries. And that is, most often, it's going to be a library that's close to you, because that's going to be the first place you want to check to see if any of these resources are available to you. You can create your own lists. That is, you can create an entire, whatever you're studying, if you're studying a surname, if you're studying a geographic location or any topic, you can create a list according to those parameters. And we'll go into that in greater depth here in a second. You can watch the lists of others. There are already many, many lists out there. Some of them may even involve your own collateral surnames. So these are things that you can also jump on and take advantage of. You can save your searches so that if you find a particular set of search terms that work really well for you, you can save that search and then revisit it again. A tremendous time saver. If you're like me, you forget how you search things. You can add reviews to material. Sometimes that can help if you're working with several other people around the globe. And you can add tags and keep track of all of your own groups of interests. So all of these things are available here. And I think because you exchange it, this almost becomes a small social media. You can take advantage of the social media aspects of this too, and we'll go into this in greater detail here shortly. So, whoops, there we go. So one of the first choices you need to make is whether you're going to be making this public, that is, letting folks see your registration, your profile, or private. And you'll be asked this at many steps along the way. So this is not, we don't want you to take any risks with this, but we also want you to take advantage of other folks who may be working with this. If the lists that you're making are going to be helpful to someone, by all means, make this public. Please don't stand with an attitude of perfectionism. That is, you don't want to share this until a list is perfect or a bibliography is perfect. perfectionism gets in the way a lot. And we try to encourage those to explore, even when you might not have the perfect result. There will be time to verify all of your sources. There will be time. But for now, explore, be an adventurer, and share that adventure with others. That's really the advantage of this website. Here, by establishing your profile, yes, you can actually put your own picture in if you'd like, as with many social media sites. Again, here you're given the advantage of hiding your profile or making it viewable by others. A fairly common social media thing, if you are involved in Facebook or in Twitter or other social media resources, this is probably pretty familiar to you. Personal information, the same sort of thing. Again, you'll be asked if it's okay to make this public. But what those keys down at the bottom, the location, these will, WorldCat works on a basis of if it shows you sources, it's going to show you the closest item to your home first. So whatever your location and postal code is there, material that you search for in WorldCat, the highest what do you say, return, that is, if a book is in 500 locations, the top location is going to be the one closest to your location. Again, as a service to you. Look what you can do here with your area of interests. You can, and actually, this is a very good example because the words are common. I think that the tendency is to use hard words, to be so specific that you miss some valuable resources. So when you put in these areas of interest, which will help narrow down your search parameters, you want to be fairly broad. Then there are resources within WorldCat to narrow those down, which we'll see here in a second. So make these words general. The anecdote that we often use in the genealogy space is that the official Library of Congress subject terminology for a gravestone is a sepulchral monument. Well, most of our researchers have learned that sepulchral monument doesn't get you very many resources anymore, and that you're a lot better off searching words like cemetery or even death. So start broad, and then the system, WorldCat, will help you narrow it down. So once again here, you can see that those areas of interest that you've put in appear right on your dashboard here, so that there's a on your profile page. So you can always keep track of this, and you can see that little edit button in that red square. That means you can change these. So nothing here is static. You can make all of these changes. You can just keep making all of these changes as you go through and as you research different things. So let's look at making a list of sources that you want to consult. You'll see that the default is 0, that you haven't made any list yet. But here, by creating a new list, you can fill in a name, in this case, Genealogy 101, and you can make it, again, you're always given that option. You can just keep this private, but you can also make it public, and we encourage that. And then simply click on New List. Then you're given a search box. Now, if you have worked at all in WorldCat, this is the same search box that appears at the top of the WorldCat homepage. the I have to qualify this. The WorldCat Zoom that you see at the top, this is our sample login that we're using for demonstration purposes. That's not an official name of any kind having to do with WorldCat. It was our prompt when we created the website. But anyway, at the top of worldcat.org, when you first go in, you find a search box. And the same search box appears here when you're prompted to make a list. So you can imagine genealogy handbooks and click on search. That would bring quite a few hits, I would think. And in fact, nearly 28,000. But you're also given on the left all kinds of facets to narrow those down. That will help you not only come up with a shorter list, but it will give you some ideas of terms that you can use to narrow your search. And this may even prompt you to go back to your profile page and change those search terms. So this process can help you really refine your search and make it the most effective search it can possibly be. As we go on, we can see here that by narrowing that search to, in this case, both print books and ebooks, and further refining it by date and language, that we come up with a much more manageable list of, indeed, 75 pieces. Now, most of us aren't going to limit it just to material from 2020. But you see the way that we can control things. What you might find helpful is to actually limit it by one by one. That is 1 year at a time. In a way, you can see how research in certain areas has changed over the course of time. That indeed can be very helpful. Once again, a reminder here that by clicking on one of these hot links, so any of these blue links, it will take you to a record for the book, but not necessarily, in fact, rarely will it take you to the full text or show you a way to get to the full text. That full text, again, which is available in sometimes and in the form of a link in that record, can be very, very helpful to you. And there are ways that you can limit your search to just material with full text. The other thing here is that you can see a note at the bottom of these two records. You see one that says view all formats and languages. You're always given that option to look at other versions of this same resource. And you may find one that works better than the one that's shown. There's also underneath that a listing that says view all editions. Both of those can be helpful to you in building context for your research. Sometimes it's fascinating to look at the first edition from 20 years ago, look at the 8th edition now, and see what the changes were and what kind of a difference that makes. If you are trying to create a rather formal academic list, you might approach this differently than just a casual list, but what WorldCat allows you to do is either one, and we'll show you that here in a bit. So here you've found material and you're given the option to add it to your Genealogy 101 list. But you're also given the option to, let's put this in a new list. So you can move through a very wide range of options of lists of resources and of topics without any bumps, any having to go back out and go back in. This is a really handy resource, especially if you're researching a number of different topics. So here we have an additional piece, and this might really, really help you in terms of describing your list for someone else who's doing the research with you. Again, this is a perfect example of somebody, of two people in distant places, different sides of the country, who can share a list. And this description, this little note that you can put into it, can really narrow down that genealogy 101 terminology. And I just want to point this out at the top of this screen. Above the red box, you see the option that you can export this data into a spreadsheet, a CSV, a comma-separated value file, or just basically an Excel spreadsheet. Sometimes that can be of great benefit to your research, depending upon how what kind of education you all have in terms of handling data or handling bibliography. Once again, an opportunity to say, oh, this might be too sensitive to have in public, or in this case, terminology like this, genealogy handbooks and best research strategies. Boy, that's not harmful for anybody, and that would help everybody. So we encourage you to explore these lists that are out there. Have a look at them and see if they can be of help to you. Here, you can see that button next to the export button that says share. This is an opportunity to send your material to other folks. And all that takes is the input of a name and an email address and the opportunity to send an invitation. It even gives you kind of a nifty little word processing, a little email program that you can put your own data into. You can customize this any way you want. And of course, you're going to be hesitant to put names and email addresses in another piece of software. But rest assured that this will be carefully handled by the software. I have not known anyone who has done this, who has lost or who has had email privileges violated in any way. You can tailor this as you want to. You can change it all the time. So if you have it tailored one way and you can send it to one family member in Arizona, you can tailor it another way. You can send it to someone in Washington State, and you can deal with different names. It doesn't have to be static. So you have a lot of options here and a lot of ways that you can make this your own. So we send the information and you get a confirmation. Now, we've obviously blocked out the addresses for our needs, but you will have a very clear indication that you've sent this. So this will be validation of your sharing. Now, this is what the recipient gets. And this is helpful to them because they can say, oh, wait, I don't think I want to, I don't think I'm interested. I want to send a reply to say, don't share with me. So even on the recipient end, there's the option of safety, option of caring that, yeah, we want you to be able to share information freely, but we're also careful about what we do with that information. That's just a tremendous benefit of this software. And as you can see, you get a link, click on that link, and it takes you to that very list that you made that you can share and be helpful with. So if you are in a position where you're creating a particularly formal document, or if you just want it to be neat for folks, you can take this list and massage it into a particular set of citations that most help you. And there are many options. You know, back when I was in college, you know, 50 years ago, the um, uh, the Modern Library Association, or Modern Language Association rather, MLA was fairly standard, and the Chicago Manual of Style. When the APA format came out, it was quite controversial at the time. Now there are several formats. It's kind of interesting to, if you get into this software, to page through them and see exactly how the citations change. But they're all valid, and they all work really well. And down at the bottom here, you can see how many different ways you have to save them. Many students from you know, in the last 20 years or so use EndNote or RefWorks, and these are management systems for building bibliography. You can simply save this as HTML, um, or as in rich text format. There are really a lot of different options here. I think that what we've done here is save them in HTML, and so it looks like this. What HTML allows is for you to, is that each of those titles is hot linked, and that these titles then, if you click on it, will take you back to the full record of this title, and that will be true for all of the folks looking at your list. It's really, it's pretty remarkable, and it can save you a lot of time. If your search has been particularly effective, you're going to want to save it. And in particular, for people like me, you're not going to remember how you searched it the last time. So you want to save this search. So over on the right, you'll see after you've done a search that you can save it. And that will save you time as well. Next to that save search box, you'll see a way that you can order that list and order order the result, the search result, by relevance. And so you can, any result in WorldCat, any kind of search you do, even if you're not logged in as an individual, if you're just doing a general search, you can sort those results in a way that most helps you. But back to saving the search. Notice again on the right, you're always given the choice. Should this be a saved search available to the public, or do I want to make this just a private search? Again, we encourage you not to be perfectionist about it, but if your search is general enough that it might help others, by all means, keep it public. The more sharing that happens in the genealogy space, the more work you're saving the genealogy world as a whole, and that's really what we're after. Notice again that your save searches become a part of your profile page, and it can be, you know, we just have one search in here. You could have many searches in here, again, depending upon the topics that you're searching. Well, let's go ahead to look at libraries. With any record that you find in WorldCat, you can, over on the right, find out who owns it. It also gives you purchase options. I'm sure that's a sweetheart deal with Amazon or ABE Books or Better World. But the idea that you can find a copy in your local library that's as close to you as possible is of great value, and is taken advantage of all the time. That looks like this. So your location is there. Notice the default zip code is what you put in your profile. It's very possible that if you're on a research trip, or if you are if you're away from home, that you can place a zip code or a local area here, and go to the nearest library to wherever you're doing the research. So this can be very, very helpful. Now, is it just libraries? Well, it's libraries and some archives. It's also some book vendors, and so in particular, you might find some archives listed here that you didn't know about. It will not include records that are local government records. It will not include courthouse records in general, or other records that are governmental or jurisdictional. But it does fill in a lot of the gaps in terms of locality, having to do with archives. So because WorldCat is smart, it'll raise that local. So you can see our zip code here is 46802, and Allen County is right at the top of that list. It'll work that way with the libraries that you choose as well. So what's this? Exactly, yet another caution. Do you want other users to be able to see on your profile that this library is a favorite of yours? And you say, why would that be harmful? Well, again, it tells folks where you are, and you want to, if you have any cause for concern about that, this is just, again, one way to bail you out if you don't care for that. I have to tell you how I tend to use these favorite libraries, because I'm a cataloger, and because I look for the best kind of records. My favorite libraries are not geographically close. I have a setting for, of course, Allen County Public Library, but I also have a setting for the Wisconsin Historical Society, and one for the New England HistGen Library. We are those are little keys for me. Brown University are little keys for me where I know that the cataloging has been of high quality, and so I can check those places. So that's kind of how I have mine set up. Once you have a favorite library, or one of many favorites, in this case, our own Allen County Public Library, you can see below what's available there. One of the huge resources that we can offer you is this Ask a Librarian service. An Ask a Librarian request that comes to the library, that goes to, it is sent to the general library and then forwarded to genealogy if it's a genealogy question. During this pandemic in particular, we have done thousands upon thousands of this kind of reference work, particularly during the time when the library was closed. Now that the library is fully open, and with still protective measures in place like masking and disinfecting, we are still doing a very large amount of work in terms of online. It's essentially online reference work. We will, however we can help you long distance, we'd like to. And we encourage you to do that. And so when you put in a favorite library like this in your profile, and this is not just Allen County, but it actually applies to most libraries, there is an Ask a Librarian feature that can help you, and most libraries do include that. I just want to let you know that here at the Genealogy Center, it works really, really well. If a query talks about, or if you have a query about the catalog in particular, they'll send that to me, or they'll send that to Kasia, because we know more about the catalog part. But we can move those Ask a Librarian questions to whomever has that specialty, and that's also, again, I can't tell you how heavily that's been used during the pandemic, and we're excited to have that option continue. You'll also see there a direct link to library information and to our online catalog. so you can look things up in our own catalog here at the Genealogy Center. Again, this just reinforces what I just told you. Here you can also, we give you a direct email address if you want to work outside the context of worldcat.org. But a great way to get a hold of us, you can even call us. And that continues to be a good option for you. So our whole goal is high tech, high touch. We want to do everything we can for you. Even though we can't see you in person, we want to be able to serve you with all of the information at our disposal, and we want to relate to your needs. So we want to listen well as you ask those questions, and we try to come up with those answers. And as with everything else, this goes on your profile page. And as with everything else, you can add to this. You can edit this. You can make it helpful in the way that you need to make it helpful to you. So something else. This is another little twist that you can do with the resources in your lists. So you found a book, and you're familiar with this book, but you're disappointed in the way the book is described, that you think you found more things in it than are present. And so you get the option to add tags, add description to this book. And those tags are also things that you can retain as you try to organize your own research. So here is a display of the tags that you have used. Notice, always editable. You can always delete them. So the tags and the search terms that you use, all of these are flexible. And as you refine your research, you'll be able to make them more flexible in time. Here we've used just general words. These general words obviously are designed as examples. You can be more specific with these tags, especially you can be as specific as you need to be, depending upon your particular research. And again, they appear in your profile as do the rest of these elements. Now, even the entire profile can be deleted if it comes time for you to do that. You can opt out completely if you must. That said, we're hoping that you use this tool for a long time. WorldCat has been around for just about 50 years now, and it's 50 years of the best information available to libraries in terms of listings of books and of material that can possibly be helpful to you. So as we continue to put material into WorldCat and it continues to grow, and libraries continue to use it to build their own catalogs, we're building a network, a large web of material that is all connected in WorldCat. And so this particular tool is a tremendous help to you only because it gives you access to an entire world, a world catalog, a WorldCat of material that otherwise you wouldn't know about. When I began in libraries back in 1980 or so, WorldCat was you had to have a big clunky machine, and it seemed so antiquated now as I remember it. Now, any internet access, you can do this from anywhere. It's just a tremendous resource that has really changed the way we do library work, not only on the inside as catalogers and organizers, but on the outside as customers and patrons. So we encourage you to keep using this and keep having a look at what it can do and how well it can do it. As you continue to look through this, we want to give you this heads up. Every month, at the end of every month, the Genealogy Center publishes a very simple text document called Genealogy Gems. It just tells you exactly what's happening here in the Genealogy Center. It includes articles of interest in all of your genealogy research. It gives you search tips. It gives you tips about handling your genealogical material using Adobe Acrobat or other resources, other softwares that can help you as you compile your genealogy and your family history. So we encourage you to use that resource and to sign up for it. This link here is here for you to, if you don't already get Genealogy Gems at the end of each month. It's not a daunting read. It's not something that'll make you feel guilty if you don't read it. But it's always fascinating information, and in fact, there's a lot of humor there too. So it's actually quite enjoyable I look forward to it at the end of every month, even being on the staff. So I encourage you to take a look at that. I guess I'm opening now the floor to questions.